CJ Obasi made filmmaking history on the 7th of December, becoming the first homegrown Nigerian filmmaker to be selected by the prestigious Sundance Film Festival with his new film, Mami, Wata. In a first of the country, a Nigerian film has been selected for the World Cinematic Dramatic Competition at the 2023 edition of the Sundance Film Festival, taking place in Salt Lake City, Utah, in the United States from the 19th to the 29th of January of next year. On the 7th of December of this year, the Sundance Music Festival announced the selection of Obasi's latest film, Mami Wata, in the World Cinematic Dramatic Competition. Now, the festival brings together the most original storytellers for its annual program of dramatic, documentary, and short films, episodic storytelling, lively filmmaker conversations, and panel discussions. Well, CJ Obasi joins me now to speak about his movie and its nomination for the Sundance Film Festival. Very good to have you here on Newsday.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
And a big congratulations to you.
Thank you so much.
How does it feel to be the first,
Homegrown?
Homegrown.
Because we've had a few Nigerians at the festival, but usually it's the US Nigerians or the UK Nigerians.
Diaspora.
So yeah, someone locally made.
Could you put us through exactly what the process is like? Do you have to submit the film, or is it other people submit, or is it just after it garners a certain amount of prestige, then you get invited? What is that selection process like?
So mine was a bit peculiar in that I was developing the project since 2016, and between 2018 and 2020, I was already in several labs developing and pitching the projects, across Africa and Europe. And while we were in Durban Film Mats in South Africa, we had pitched the project to one of the senior programmers of Sundance. And she said, if you make this film that you're pitching, not a different film, but this particular one you're pitching, you have a strong chance of, making it to Sundance. But then, that took another 2 years for us to actually make the movie. But in between then, we kept in touch. And when we had a screener, which was around February last year, I sent it to her. And 2 months later, in April this year, we get an email that we've been selected. So it was an extra early selection.
Okay.
Like even before they made a call for submission.
Well, clearly it's not just, you wake up one day. It's, there's quite a lot of effort and work on your part in order to get it seen and heard.
Absolutely.
So could you tell us a little bit about your submission, Mami Wata, without giving us any spoilers? What are they going to be looking forward to when they premiere the film?
Well, they'll be looking forward to something they've never seen before. Just right off the bat, it's a black and white fantasy film. So I don't know if you've seen that before from this region.
Okay.
But in terms of the themes and some of the things, the codes and the symbolisms that we infused into the film, as well as just a really fresh perspective of our culture, our spirituality, our tradition.
Because that's the thing, right? There are some parts of our culture and our themes and our, I want to call it our theology that resonate worldwide. So it would be very interesting to see what their reaction would be to that over the pond. Now, you have been credited for reigniting indie Nollywood movies, indie horror Nollywood movies. So I just want to make it clear that you're not just making regular movies. These are horror-based movies.
Not Mami Wata.
Not Mami Wata.
I mean, I came into the game with, my debut was a horror film, Ojuju.
Right.
So I kind of have been carrying that tag, since then.
Okay.
But I've done other things.
All right. It's just, when you think Mami Wata, you think of,
yes, which is one of the reasons why we decided to make
mythology.
this film. Because I feel like this is really problematic. The fact that whenever we have conversations about our culture, our spirituality has to always be through this like horrific or demonized gaze. And so for me, I always had an issue with that. And this making Mami Wata was an opportunity for me to at least try to restart a new conversation and a new way of, having, just having a new vision, so to speak.
That's really interesting because that will pivot the conversation to make people start thinking differently. So why filmmaking? Why is it so important to get our own stories across, made by us, and not necessarily for only us, but what's so important? Why filmmaking?
Filmmaking is probably the most powerful art form in that it's visual, it's also sonic. I think you can't really over-exaggerate how powerful cinema as a tool is in terms of storytelling, narrative, even just social engineering. Every single human being on planet Earth has been shaped in one form or the other through films, whether it's in how you dress, how you speak, just your worldview. Now it falls on the filmmaker to decide, what you want to contribute to that narrative or to that conversation about how powerful cinema is. And for me, I feel like as a filmmaker from Nigeria, a filmmaker from Africa specifically, you have so much responsibility in terms of how Africans are perceived, how West Africans are perceived, how Nigerians are perceived. And there's a whole other different conversation as far as world cinema goes and where we belong as Nigerians in that conversation as well. And so for me, I feel like, Nollywood is great and what we're doing with Nollywood is powerful and it will continue to grow. But that is not the only thing we can offer. We're such a diverse country with diverse kinds of artists, and that should be reflected in our filmmaking as well.
So I'm not really sure how the filmmaking rollout goes, but after Sundance, are we going to be able to see Mami Wata? Is it going to come to theaters across Nigeria? Is it going to be on streaming platforms? What is the future for this project?
So major shout out to Film One. Film One is the African distributor of the film. So with that, you can be guaranteed that we're going to have a national theatrical release. But for now, we're doing the festival route. After Sundance, we'll do a few more festivals, and then we'll gradually roll out nationally and across the continent as well.
So we'll get to see it. That's awesome.
Definitely.
So I'm not sure how old you are, CJ. I'm looking at you, and I don't see too many gray hairs. But there's a certain generation in which creative efforts were not exactly seen as money-making or profitable in any way, shape, or form. How were you able to convince your parents, your family, or to get in line with you, your friends? And how were you able to turn this seemingly very capital-intensive project or line of work into something that obviously has you touring in the U.S. and putting food in your mouth? How's that working out?
The food in my mouth, that's a different conversation. I mean, I do have a kick-ass producer.
Okay.
She's my wife as well. But just having someone who you can really, partner with on a business side, on an artistic side, really takes off a lot of the, a lot of the stress that comes with filmmaking. But in terms of my parents, I feel like they've always pretty much supported me when it came, because even when I left my day job, and I remember...
So you did leave a day job.
I did leave a day job to pursue filmmaking, and I remember that conversation. I was really looking forward to, or expecting them to just go off of me, but I remember telling them, I can't do this anymore, I want to make movies. And I was like, okay. And I feel like they probably felt like that conversation should have happened earlier.
Okay.
I think that was their issue. Their issue was, why did it take you so long? Yeah.
That's very awesome. So what other do you work on multiple projects at the same time? Do you have something else developing in the works, or is it just Mami Wata that you are focused on for now? Yeah,
I have several things in development. By the time Mami Wata will premiere in January, it would have been 7 years from inception to release. So hopefully I don't take another 7 years to make the next one. But I have several things in for TV and film in development, and it's quite exciting.
All right. Well, we wish you all the best. I actually watched Juju Stories, like I said. It's really amazing. I recommend all of you out there to go and watch it as well, just so that you can get a feel for what these new age Nollywood indie movies start to look like. Thank you so much for coming in and talking with us, CJ.